and we're about to move into. So that desired state of, oh, there's a little pop. Problem solving and data-driven decisions are embedded. So just getting a little more detail about what does that look like. Manager support and encourage problem solving. They coach employees through problem solving. Everyone manages with data. We regularly review data, use it to inform decisions, also resources for those things. Moving into measure, the first thing is what data did we have that told us something about these desired states? So the first thing was the employee engagement survey. We had this question of, I am encouraged to come up with better ways of doing things. So this was a source of information that we had going back several years that gave us some insight into, are people encouraged to use problems? Another source is just our learning, I almost call it LMS, Learning Center. So how many people have taken these classes that are related to it at our agency? So we saw that about 44% of our agency had taken the class Problem Solving in Washington Way. About half of those had taken it within 3 years. And we had 5 of our 14 divisions that had 80% or more of their management teams had trained in problem solving. And there was still opportunities to increase awareness or desire about taking this class or using those. One area that we didn't have any information on, so we have information about, are people encouraged to? We have information about, did people take training? But we didn't know, like, are people actually using it? So what we did is we set up a survey to ask the people who had taken the classes, do you use this? We actually had a number of questions about, like, do you use it? Also demographic information, like, are they a manager? When did they, how often do they use it? What do they use it for, et cetera? We surveyed 163 employees. About 34% of those who responded were managers. Of those who did use the method, 26 had used it regularly, 61% said they used it on occasion, and then 13% said they only used it to earn a. We have a yellow belt that you have to take this class and use the method. So we had some open text questions that they also answered that gave us a little bit more insight about what people found value of the problem solving model that we were teaching. People liked that it was a clear process to follow, that it ensured data is included in part of it, both baseline and post improvement. If you're not familiar with Watch 2, it's 9-step problem solving, which is the same thing as an A3. Turtles all the way down. They like that it includes root cause analysis, and then they also like that using particular 9-step, because we taught it for so long that it was common language that they could. It was also key that the method was key in improving productivity and processes. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer now.
Hi, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
So you said 163 were.
We have about 1,300 employees in the agency.
Mm-hmm.
So about half of those have taken the class, and that's half of them who are still with us at that time have taken the class. So that's respondents to the survey. Only people who took the class were sent the survey. So it's
That's fine, because my challenge back in my agency is having to get staff sick. I don't understand what it is we have tried to find, but it looks like correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're going to get into trouble if they or if they take the surveys. And I'm actually looking for a way where, I can really encourage, staff and my colleagues and peers to say, what, you can take those surveys because they really help the organizations and teams to, understand where we're at and what the problems are and how we can solve. So I would really love, to find out how you maybe first your questions or what you did to get to 163 is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, don't check my math, but it's roughly a quarter of the people who took the class that responded. I mean, it could still, how to get more responses, but generally, like, psychological safety is a big thing. Is it anonymous? Is the data collected in a way that someone can't go and go, oh, that's this person? Also, doing something with your survey data, don't just take surveys and then nothing. And then survey fatigue is off the cuff. Love to talk to you more about it.
Great question. So as we moved into our analyze phase, we really wanted to talk about the barriers that the managers were seeing to, or I guess experiencing to using the problem-solving method. And so a lot of the conversation was around too much time had passed since the training, and that the 9-step problem-solving method really didn't come to mind when facing problems. And then the other thing that they mentioned was that the actual access to the materials to support the use of it, they didn't feel like it was readily available. Either they weren't sure where it was at, or they, again, weren't thinking of it, so those materials didn't come to mind. And they weren't sure who could support them as they used the model or had questions or wanted coaching. I think that there was maybe not quite the understanding that we were available just for coaching, like they might be going through the problem-solving method themselves, and we could be just there to bounce ideas off of them. If you had a quick question, we could help, be that person to bounce those ideas off of. And then there was a perception that it took a long time to actually apply the method. So as we moved into the improve, we really wanted to say, okay, how can we close the gap to increase this employee usage? And we really wanted to have that framework be a standard approach to problem solving. We didn't want people to just think, oh, I have to have a lean workshop when I'm doing this. I don't want to have to necessarily engage the lean transformation office. We want to keep it in-house. So how can I do that? So we wanted them to realize that they could use it on committees, in teams, in individual, problems that they might be facing, that it didn't have to be this ginormous thing to be able to use the framework. And we wanted to really set an example and an expectation so it became muscle memory, right? So if people started thinking about it and it became the standard, it would then become muscle memory and people would start using it all the time. So that's kind of what we're wanting it, the agency to be able to do is like, oh, I have this problem here, let me work through these steps. And it just becomes automatic. And sometimes they're like, oh, I just did that and I didn't even realize I was doing it. So as we also improved, we wanted to think about things, that we could do to help close that gap as well, right? So we have visual reminders throughout the agencies in multiple different ways about the 9-step problem solving. We also are in the process of creating a fillable template that allows them to go through the steps and to be able to fill it out to help them, have that reminder, right? That prompt to be able to fill it out correctly. And then we also share our resources on our Lean intranet page. So we have an internal page that we have that has all of our Lean resources. And we want to make sure that those tools are accessible to people and that they're the tools that they need, right? So we want to make sure that we are providing them with what they're looking for and how they're looking for it. And then daily tools, right? So again, that's using that as a daily reminder, having those tools readily available, and that muscle memory that I talked about a little bit before, having that. And then we have a video that we have, and so we're dusting that video off, and we're going to make sure that, does it still meet the needs of our customers? Is it still what they need, or do we need to be looking at, re-recording that video to give them some more information? Because like Cindy and Jeremiah mentioned, we're further along in our journey, right? So as we go further along in our journey, the needs of our customers might change. So we want to make sure that as we're improving, we are meeting the needs of our customers where they're at. Wrong way. So as we move into control, we all know that sometimes control is the hardest piece. That control and sustainment piece can be the hardest. So we developed our action item list, and we wanted to make sure that we were paying attention to that action item list and following our own protocol, right? And so we had the action items, we made sure that we had a status assigned to them, who it was assigned to, as well as a target completion date. And we wanted to make sure that with that target completion date that, we were holding, again, ourselves accountable a little bit. And then we would also add the date that it was actually completed. So we would know, like, how are we measuring ourselves? If we said we were going to give ourselves 30 days with this, did we do it within 30 days, or was it taking us 45 days, or were we finishing it sooner? So it was really important that we, had that control plan in place as well. And then obviously the implementation of the action plan and having those monthly discussions. And like Cindy said, we make sure that we are doing this annually with ourselves. We have an annual review and we say, okay, where we level set, right? So July 11th, we're going to level set again and say, okay, what have we accomplished in this last year? What do we want to accomplish in the next year, and how are we going to get there? I'm going to hand it back over to Cindy now.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. One thing I wanted to point out, when Jennifer was talking about where we want to be, some of those items that that we're doing, those all came from our internal customers. So voice of the customer is really important for us to get that feedback. They're more likely to engage when they're hearing that their voice is heard, right? And they truly are our internal customers. So I just wanted to point that out for you. So some of the lessons learned. First and foremost, we needed to have performance management and process improvement integrated. It is difficult to do process improvement if you don't have the data and you don't have the focus, right? So if you think about your programs and those that you work with, if they have target where they want to be, what they want to accomplish for their customers in mind, and they see that slipping, that is an awesome opportunity to engage with process improvement, right? So really having those integrated was really important. Showing results, right? So continuously showing our internal customers the results of the work that we're doing, not only the kind of the program basics of having the program, but also the results of projects that happen, that occur, basically showing what's in it for them to engage in this work. Advocating really early for what you need. If you need performance management or data-driven decisions and you don't have what you need there, really advocating for that. If you don't have the change management support, consultation, or someone to help with that, making sure you're advocating for that early. And then being really persistent. It took me 3 years, I think, to get a position that I needed, and stole Jeremiah from licensing, yay. It took 3 years for that, but I was persistent, right? So being really persistent on what you need and really sharing, again, what's in it for the agency, what's in it for you as leaders, if you really support this work and provide the resources that are needed. So don't take no for an answer is what I'm saying. Okay. All right. So just coming back to the tool, I just wanted to make sure that we're continuously coming back to that. We talked about how the define stage and how we identified our customers, our desired states, reviewed previous year information, did brainstorming, selected those desired states, didn't select even half of them. That's important, a handful, right? In the measure stage, Jeremiah shared with you the data that we looked at, the gaps that we had in the data, and how we filled those gaps. In the analyze stage, Jennifer shared with you how we analyzed that, how we analyzed the voice of the customer. Again, I really want to weigh in on that. Voice of the customer is our internal folks. They have to support it. Identifying the gaps between where we wanted to be in the desired states and where we currently are. In the improved stage, we brainstormed how we would improve, identified actions and selected the actions that we were going to take. Again, we had a huge list of actions, and we had to narrow them down to something that's palatable and manageable for the year. And then in the control stage, Jennifer talked to you about the action plan and the cadence that we get together and we share where we're at, ask each other for support and help. And then, of course, the annual cycle that's coming up again, where we'll start this all over again in July. So that's the tool that we used. And we're excited about, I think this is our fourth year of doing this. Excited about the upcoming session. And with that, I would like to open it up for any questions.
See Medlin in the chat. Great job being persistent.
Thank you, Cindy.
Like Jeremy has his hand raised. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm curious about the 9 steps and if there's opportunities for those of us who are not in management to also take the course. And I'm curious how that has been blended with PAIR and maybe the GARE Equity Toolkit, especially given the focus around equitable designs and how those have converged. If you can speak a little bit about how those might be similar or dissimilar, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks for the question, Jeremy. So the first part of that was, is it available? I don't know if DES is still providing this training. I know that was a standard training that they provided there. And then we, of course, at Revenue, we could probably accommodate a couple here and there if we have space open. So Jeremy, if you want to reach out to me about that, that would be great. And then PAIR and folding in equitability. We have looked at our lean leadership training, which is different, and folded in some equity pauses and such. We probably need to do the same for our other trainings, but because that's really important to us, making sure that we're really thinking about stopping and thinking about equitability, there we go. Sound like I stuttered there, across the board and all of our services, whether it be our training or otherwise. Does that answer your question, Jeremy, or did you have any follow-on? You bet.
No, I think that answers it.
Pretty sure in NICEP though, we've added and who you work with on your problem solving, a step of making sure that you identify customers and putting their voice somehow. That's one way that we include stuff, and I think it.
Could you provide, I see that your plan is focused on getting people on the problem-solving methodology. Did you have any metrics? Like, I saw you had a metric kind of to start with, but did you have like any after metrics to show success in this?
Yeah, so we look again at our training data, which Jennifer just recently did. We will want to ask again, I think, and we have our session on the 11th. What's that? Yeah, this summer. So July 11th, we're going to ask that same question, ask some of the same questions of the folks that took it to see how we've improved, and yeah, kind of go from there. It's only been a year, so I thought about maybe surveying as we go, but they took the training maybe 2 months ago. They've definitely used it, right? But yeah, hopefully we see it increase just based on even bringing awareness to it. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Paul with DES asks, how do you or will you support coaching problem solvers when they need it or run into any struggles?
We actually meet with our assistant directors and program managers, which is kind of their second, every quarter, and share our services and remind them that we are here for coaching. And let's see what else. When we do our yellow belts, We provide coaching, yellow belts, and we actually have green belts and lane leader belts. Provide that opportunity there too, and continuously tell them we're here to support you. I do think that we could do, and we will do, we'll see, we have a session coming up, a little bit more on sharing our services like on a regular basis to the rest of the agency and reminding them of the coaching that's available to them. You want to add anything, either of you? Jennifer?
I think the only thing that I would add is starting in September, we have, for our green belts, so like Cindy mentioned, we have yellow belts and green belts, and for our green belts who are there to help support their, divisions and, other problem-solving opportunities that come up, we're having a monthly lunch and learn. So it enables the green belts to kind of brush up on their skills to make sure that they have the knowledge and skill set to be able to help support. So we're trying to build out our support, and then they're also able to share that message as well, right? So they're able to say, feel free to reach out to the Lean team, the Lean Transformation Office, if I can't answer that question for you. So we're hoping to kind of just build that out and get the message out in multiple different ways.
Wait, and if there are any questions in the room, Diana H. asks, what progress have you seen in the goals you've made?
We're talking the overall goals. So can you say a little more, like goals specific to this example, or?
Feel free, Diana, if you want to unmute and clarify.
Yeah, I just was curious, if you've seen progress in the excitement or anything else, or any other measures that you have chosen. You may have answered it earlier when you said that you were going to go out and remeasure, but that was what my question was based on.
Well, I think one area is our continued interest in our yellow belt and our employees, line level employees get this opportunity to learn the skill set and use it. So that's one area. Continued, actually taking the training. So as supervisors and managers promote and support it with their employees is another area. We will go, Jennifer actually just pulled the data on that. We did have, I think we had an increase, I can't remember off the top of my head, in our problem solving across the board. I can't remember what percentage it was, but so we measure that way. Yeah, there was an increase even with employees leaving the agency, because we always measure of current employees. So as people leave the agency, they take that skill set with them, hopefully stay within state government and take it to their agencies. But so that's another way. We do look at the employees engagement survey. While it's only annual, is really important to us. We have a number of questions that we align with, and we measure, we measure kind of our progress by division in those areas that give us some insight into how we're doing with our lean culture and performance management. So does that answer your question, Diana?
Yes, it does. And a follow-up on question, you said that you had performance management systems that are really important to you. What types of systems are you using?
So when we talk about performance management system, it's there is like applications that we use, but it's a whole thing of, we have a place where we record our performance measures, we have guidance and best practices, and I'm also working with a number of divisions on developing or improving their measures. We have on the communications end, our divisions meet every other month, and a couple divisions present on what's going on with their measures and things that are interesting or they need help with. And then we also have worked on improving how we communicate those in terms of like creating dashboards and things like that. So when she says performance management system, it's a whole holistic system, not just a system. And our performance management system is an in-house built system that has been where I was in the professional world. But we also use like Power BI and
Thank you.
Looks like the last question I see in the chat at the moment is, oh, what is your secret to success besides Jeremiah and persistence?
Can I take that to start? I firmly believe that you have to love what you're doing. I have a ton of passion around these topics we're talking about. Jeremiah has a ton of passion around it. Jennifer has a ton of passion around it. Morgan Montez, who used to be with us, had a ton of passion around it. And really, you know, putting people in the role that love it, because you have to sell it, right? You have to sell the what's in it for me, all of those things. And if you're just doing it for a paycheck, you should probably do something else. That's my really direct response. Love what you're doing, and let it show if you do. Right. You want to chime in there, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I mean, love what you're doing. And also, it's like the most important thing, because I've been in the lean performance management now, that I really underestimated when I started was relationships, and not approaching people as like trying to like here's this great thing I have, but all like trying to like really understand them, what makes them tick, what they need, how you can work with them or help them, and those sorts of things. Relationships is always sort of like comes with an agency.
Thank you.
I think the last thing that I would add to that is to practice what you preach, right? So if we are trying to sell the tools to other people and trying to tell them how great and wonderful they are, that we should probably be using them, right, as well. It's really hard to tell people to do something when we're not using the tools that we're trying to get them to use. So I think being able to walk the walk as we are teaching and coaching and mentoring others is really super important.
All right, thank you so much for those wonderful questions and answers and your presentation. I love seeing how you just went through each phase of DMAIC. That's something we learn in Greenbelt. And sometimes you just wonder, how often do people use this, right? They get the Greenbelt and then maybe they don't take those lessons forward, but to see you go through each one, and it's so practical, like why wouldn't you use it? I'm with you, Cindy, super passionate about this. So I'm happy to see how you all went through those phases. I also just want to throw out there, in case there's anyone that either doesn't remember these phases or the tools that fall in line with the DMAIC, DMAIC, you can always even Google, if you don't have access to it, you know, DMAIC list, and you'll see a list of tools under each phase that you can start using, or just some to maybe jog your memory of what tools fall under which phase. I know that I was so excited when I learned this in our class back at HCA that we created a worksheet so that as we went through each process improvement and project, we had a list of all the tools that fell under each phase, and it really helped prompt us as, oh, we could use this for this and we can use that. And so I'm also going to throw out there, if there's any certain tools that you all see under a specific phase that you're curious about or you want to learn more about, please let us know, because we will also be happy to do topic teachings on specific tools like that. In addition to you reaching out and networking with the folks who present so that you can get some consulting on that level as well. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Talia, can I add just
Yeah.
a little shameless plug? On Results Washington's website, we actually started a little DMAIC toolkit library. So we just have some common tools under each of the phases right now. So if you do see any tools that you're interested in, or if there's some more tools that you want to learn more about, we'd be happy to just keep our library up to date. So let us know.
Absolutely.
And I just dropped that in the chat for everybody.
Good plug. As you said that, I'm like, we need to get a visual of one of those lists on there too. All right, we're program and website designing as we talk to you. All right, and moving on, we have